Hey, everybody. I am joined by my good friend Lou Whiteman. We are going to talk about Starbucks today. I'm a big fan of the product. Invest in what you know, they say, and that's exactly what I'm doing with Starbucks here. We're going to talk about some interesting developments. Lou has his coffee all ready to go. Starbucks recently got a big activist investment, so we're going to dive into that and some other things about the company. Before we do, check out the link you see on your screen, fool.com/Frankel. Get the top 10 stocks to buy right now from the Motley Fool. They're our sponsor. It is the best way to support this work we're doing here on YouTube. Again, fool.com/Frankel. So let's start with the headline. Lou, is that Starbucks coffee in your cup right now?
It is actually, but it is just made at home. So I got a lot better deal on it than if you go to the store.
Hey, Starbucks investors are getting that much richer every time you take a sip, so you're still doing your
Absolutely.
part. I'm a big Starbucks regular. I get very bored in my house, if I'm being totally honest. I can only be in my house for so long before I need to make a change. A new Starbucks actually just opened up about 5 minutes down the road, which I live in a pretty rural area. So that's a big deal for me to have a place to go that I don't have to drive 30 minutes to get to. So I'm a big Starbucks fan. I love, not from a customer's point of view, I love how much money they get me to spend from an investor's point of view. I can't go there with my two kids in the back seat of the car without spending $20 by buying a cake pop, by buying a pink drink, by and I can't, and we can't show up back at home with the three of us have something from Starbucks and I didn't buy my wife something. I'm sure you understand
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so I spend $20 every time I go through the drive-through. It's a fantastic business, great margins. I come from the food service industry. That was my, a gap year after college turned into a 5 year stretch in restaurant management. So I know the industry very, very well. And for them to earn these kind of margins in a food service business is impressive. The pricing power they have is impressive. This would be like if everybody else was charging $10 for a plate of chicken wings and you got people to pay $30. It's a really interesting business model. But I'll stop rambling for a second. The big headline is that activist investor Elliott Investment Management, they've built a stake. We don't know how much they've bought yet. It made the stock jump. They have a pretty big history, and I know, Lou, you're familiar with some of their other involvements. So quickly, can you just kind of give us a rundown of what is Elliott Investment Management? What's an activist investor, and why should we care?
So an activist is basically just someone, and there is, assuming you buy a certain amount, you have to file differently. But with the idea is you want to use the economic power that comes with your shares to enact change. Now it can be all sorts of things. A lot of times it's a run at the CEO. A lot of times, if nothing else, they want a board seat, they want a voice. But the idea is you take, usually depending on the size of the company, a couple of percent. I mean, look, who went after Microsoft with like less than 1%? But no, normally in these companies, you want to get a sizable percentage that you can get management's attention. Sometimes you have to yell at them and make fun of them some, but Elliott is a really good one. And, the other thing is, let's be honest, they are activists vary in quality. But Elliott just recently, I mean, Southwest Airlines, Salesforce, there's a bunch of big names they go after. They usually go in with a plan, or here's what we think you are doing wrong. And in Elliott's case, I mean, look, Starbucks is down what? Even with the activists, almost 30% over the last year. It has gone nowhere or down. I mean, what's it over 5 years? I know it's in the red, maybe not too bad. So this is, Matt, everything you said, I agree with. Great business, great loyalty. Selling an addictive product without federal regulation is wow. I mean, that's like the dream, a
Yeah,
capitalist
there
dream
aren't
come
that many of
true.
those.
Yeah, yeah, but here we are with a business that has gone nowhere when the S and being killed by the S&P 500 over the last 5 years. I would bet. I didn't actually look at that, but we can edit this out later, right? No, but I'm pretty sure. But Elliot is the type of people who are the smartest guys in the room that want to come in and make changes. And I do think there is a lot of opportunity here for Starbucks to make change. I mean, I will tell you, as someone who has toyed with the stock, one of the most distressing things in that Wall Street Journal report is the idea that the new CEO, who of course we've had a real Howard Schultz problem here for a while, the new Laxman is under pressure from Schultz, and that he's grumbling already about the new guy. Um, this is a company that, for all of its really, really good qualities, just hasn't been able to do it and faces some really tough choices. And I do think it's a type that maybe an activist can at least make them think about for a while. So I don't know. I mean, as a shareholder, how do you feel about the stock, not the product, Matt?
Well, I just recently added shares. So
Okay.
I'm a new Starbucks shareholder. I should point that out. I have not
Okay.
been I've never owned the stock before about a month ago, after their first quarter earnings report, which is why they're down. To be fair, they were down over the past 5 years before this recent move. I just looked it up as you mentioned that over the past 5 years, Starbucks stock is down 17%. Even when accounting for dividends, it's still in the red. Um, and that's a 5 year return over a period when the S&P has done pretty well.
S&P's up almost 80%
Yeah,
then over 5 years. Yeah.
so that's roughly 100 percentage points of underperformance.
Mhm.
So that's not good. It's not surprising that activists are pushing for change, especially when you consider what's happened at Starbucks. I know you're not a frequent Starbucks, you know, visitor, but over the past 5 years, they've arguably had the most success with any mobile ordering system of any restaurant.
Mhm.
Period. Their loyalty program is off the charts successful. Starbucks did mobile ordering before it was cool to do mobile ordering. Before the pandemic made it an essential function of business. Those are all creating good problems to have, but problems nonetheless. Um,
Huge problems nonetheless. Yeah.
Huge problems. Um, in urban locations, especially when people, they just get overwhelmed with orders. There are times when I'll make a mobile order. It won't tell me how long the wait is on the app, other than say the standard, like your order should be ready in 8 to 10 minutes. And I go in and they say, "Oh, we're running at 45 minutes right now." I
Yeah.
say, "Well, I can't wait that long. I have to get back to work. Like I'm on my way to the office, and there's no good way to cancel your order because the baristas are running around like chickens with their heads cut off trying to make all these orders, understandably so. And there's no good way on the app to say cancel order. There's a lot of pain points there. So it's either you lose your $6, $7 you just spent on your drink and leave, or you sit there and spend 45 minutes of your day waiting. There's not a good system in place for surges in demand like that, where
Mhm.
you
And
know
and it's a really hard, and to your point, it's a really hard problem to fix because you can't just scale capacity. It's not a flexible capacity environment, really.
Yeah, and there's a lot of ways that they can implement fixes. There's no way to pre-order coffee right now, for example. I can't schedule a Starbucks pickup order. Right now we're recording this at 10:20. I can't say, okay, I'll be there at 11:30 and here's what I want. That would help manage the expectations for order flow. Um, there's also no good way for non-members to mobile order. If you're not a member of Starbucks loyalty program, which I get, they want everyone to do that. There has been no way to use the app
Mhm.
like without signing up for their loyalty program and registering a Starbucks card and things like that. If you want to just pay for your one-time coffee order, there's no way to do that through the app. There's a lot of order management problems that, again, I think they didn't anticipate their mobile ordering platform being as successful as it was.
But but it ripples through. I mean, like I say, I mean, I this is Starbucks, and I am a coffee addict. I will drink coffee all day, much to my health. But yeah, I joke that if you want to solve global warming, and I might be a little off on the numbers here, Matt, but if you just eliminate the drive-through at the local Starbucks near me, that's got to be worth at least 20% of global carbon emissions just because you will sit there and idle with your car for at times a half hour 45 minutes to get a cup of coffee, and that is the ripple of the app and everything they are. And I'll be honest, I mean, this isn't my world, I don't know, but I don't know how you solve that without either fewer customers or a ton more expenses, because you either need to make fewer drinks or you need to hire a lot more people for that search. And that's a hard problem. You can't use AI to make coffee. You can automate some parts of it, but at the end of the day, this is a people business, this is an equipment business, and this is I need as many customers as I can to justify my expenses sort of business. These are problems that are too I hope Elliott has good ideas, because I don't know how I see ways to kind of take pain away, but I don't see ways to solve these problems. Easy
And
ways.
I'm only half joking when I say this, is that Starbucks should hire whichever executives is in charge of the Chick-fil-A drive-through
Yeah.
to maximize efficiency. Maybe they need a two-lane model, one for people
Yeah.
who've already ordered, one for people who need to order. Maybe there's something to that. There,
Do you
maybe,
know what's sorry, but that's fascinating too, because real estate guy here too. At least in Atlanta, where all the Chick-fil-A's were original and so old, the big trend around here is Chick-fil-A's moving because a lot of them aren't on properties that can support the drive-throughs they need. If you think of, I don't, I can, I mean, I'm probably 10 minutes from a dozen Starbucks right now, Matt. I don't think any of them have the capacity to double up their drive-through on the footprint they have. So that's, again, that's a great idea, but that's another potential problem.
no, Starbucks. There's a big trend of them moving too around me.
Yeah.
A lot of the Starbucks in the late '90s, most of the 2000s were built in strip malls.
Yeah.
They were like, and not like anchor stores. They were just in the middle of the strip mall, and places that could not accommodate a drive-through even if they wanted to. So they're moving and building new stores just for that purpose. I love that the Starbucks drive-through exists. I would never sit in it during busy times the way some people do, or they're obviously willing to wait in line for 30 minutes for a coffee when they could walk in and get one in 5. I'll never understand that, but that's another argument for another day. But you're right. It brings us to the point there are a lot of pain points, both for consumers and for the company. And I don't know what the solution is. There has to be a better way to manage the mobile order system. Maybe have one, maybe put another espresso machine in. There's a lot of stores that have one of the giant espresso machines that are trying to do a drive-through mobile orders and people at the register, and there's just not enough capacity. I don't know what the answer is there, or if that's logistically possible. I don't know. But I know that they are having some problems, and it's not just a Starbucks problem right now, right? So I mentioned the big dip after the first quarter earnings that made me want to buy shares. That was fueled by a unexpected 3% drop in US sales in an inflationary environment. So the real drop is significantly more than 3%. Consumer traffic, like foot traffic into their stores, is down by 7% year over year in the first quarter. That was very unexpected. And management is saying that consumers are starting to feel a little bit squeezed. They're spending a lot more on essentials like housing, on energy, on insurance. My homeowner's insurance has tripled in the past 4 years. Consumers are feeling a little bit squeezed with essential purchases, and addicted to coffee or not, going to a Starbucks and buying coffee is a discretionary purchase. Period. The end. No
Right.
matter how addicted you are to your white chocolate mocha or whatever it is, it's still a discretionary item. And people are really starting to pump the brakes on discretionary purchases. We're seeing this throughout the industry. It's not just Starbucks, but consumers are feeling squeezed. I don't know the answer to that part of the problem, or if there is a good one. Maybe, I mean, McDonald's is solving it with the $5 meal deal that they're rolling out nationwide. Um, could Starbucks do something like that? Would it devalue the brand? McDonald's is seen as a value brand. Starbucks is
Right.
not. So would it devalue the brand name to do something like that? I don't know what the good answer is at this point. Um,
So, so let me give you a shock jock hot take, and it's not really an answer, but it's a question. Okay, Starbucks for most of its history, the whole the third place. You have home, the office, and that. Everything we've talked about here has nothing to do with that third place, right? It's about mobile orders. It's about getting in and out. It's about drive-throughs. I know Schultz gets a lot of credit for the loyalty program and the mobile, so it's not just the third place is his only thing. But it strikes me back to this original thing, like with the activists and who's still the chairman and kind of whether or not he's like looking over the CEO's shoulder and stuff. It strikes me that the architect of Starbucks past is still so hyperactive in its present. And I wonder if that tension needs to be resolved with just Howard either go away or take over. And you've tried both, but just it's time to go away. It's time to just focus on what's next because the Starbucks we grew up with, or some of us, grew up after that, but it's the Starbucks that we've known and loved. That isn't what we're talking about now. We're talking about mobile orders. We're talking about in and out. We're talking about just give me my coffee. We're not talking about the third place anymore. And so much of Starbucks culture and so much of its just real estate footprint is built around that old idea. That's where the tension is. That's where the issue is. And I'm not sure the architect that built all that is the best person to take you forward.
Yeah, and at the same time, I've talked about this in another video. I find it kind of odd that Starbucks can't find a CEO that kind of came up through the ranks. In the way that Mary Barra came up the ranks at GM, started on the assembly line and 40 years ago or whatever it was. Starbucks is a place that prides itself on employee culture. They will pay for an hourly employee to go to college, which is a rarity these days. They offer hourly employees stock options. They offer a lot to their employees. And you would think that there'd be some sort of like executive development program that they've, yes, Howard Schultz has handpicked CEOs. Why can't they find someone who really knows the business inside and out, knows what has worked in the stores? How can you make decisions about what's good, what the best way to solve problems in your stores if you've never worked there?
Yeah.
And their current CEO has never worked in a Starbucks. It was a complete outside hire. So it's always kind of it confused me at why they can't find an executive that's kind of come up through the ranks and really Starbucks has been a big company for 30 years. Like it's so maybe the answer is Howard Schultz needs to go away, but I want someone in place who knows the coffee business better. Is kind of what I would. And like I said, I don't know their current CEO very well, but I think that might be something to look into and a reason that Elliott might have interest in it.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. That's an interesting point. Yeah.
I want to thank The Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. The Motley Fool is a company that provides investing insight and stock recommendations for investors of all skill sets and risk levels. You all know how much I love researching new stocks and trying to find the next best investment, so I'm proud to partner with The Motley Fool to bring you 10 stock picks from their popular product, Stock Advisor. Stock Advisor has beaten the market by more than 4 times, so go to fool.com/Frankel to get your 10 stock picks now. The Motley Fool Stock Advisor returns are 650% as of April 16th, 2024, and are measured against the S&P 500 returns of 148% as of April 16th, 2024.